Talking to Paul Labovitz, the new superintendent of the Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore. So, Paul, we talked a little bit about Mount Baldy and how you've got issues here where you don't really know the cause of this. Is there a concern that some of the other dunes in the National Lakeshore could be unsafe as well?
You know, we're always working on providing a safe visitor experience, and so when an incident like this happens, we tend to err on the side of caution and try to understand it. I would also say, though, that there's a lot of dangerous things that we engage daily in our lives, and I'm gonna say that one of the most dangerous things you can do when you visit the dunes is jump in your car and drive to a parking lot.
So on a scale of 1 to driving on I-94, you think that the risk of falling into a hole at the dunes is fairly remote?
I would agree with that, yes.
Okay, it's fairly remote. So do you plan on making big changes here? I mean, this is a park that has been around since the mid-1960s. There have been a lot of changes so far. A lot of homes have been removed over the decades. Do you see this park as being pretty much complete, or do you see changes coming?
Well, yeah, there's a lot to do still. There's been a lot of great work for the almost 50 years the park has existed. We're coming up on a very significant 50th anniversary. We're coming up on the centennial of the National Park Service, so we're trying to figure out, how do we commemorate those events. We have a very unique opportunity here to engage urban kids in outdoor recreation. We have a very unique opportunity to demonstrate that this mix of nature and industry can be successful. We have an opportunity here to work with the communities in and around the park to help the park add value, both from a quality of life perspective and an economic development perspective to these places, and this great connection to Chicago.
What about things like expanding the footprint of the park? Do you think its days of expanding are over?
Well, I think there is a boundary, and there are some properties within that boundary that potentially could become owned by the National Park Service. We're not on an aggressive expansion agenda. We have plenty to take care of now. Federal resources are getting leaner. So we're focusing more on how we can work in partnership with our neighbors, not necessarily on expanding our footprint.
What about the whole notion of maybe bringing back some of the species that have been lost over the years that we no longer see? In some of the big western parks, they talk about introducing wolves and the like, but there were bobcats here. There were small cats here in this part of northwest Indiana. Do you see something as dramatic as doing that?
Well, I think what we do is we're working mostly on habitat preservation and restoration. And it's been shown for species like bobcat and the Massasauga rattlesnake that if you have quality habitat, there's enough of those species that are probably still here that maybe their populations will increase. I don't see us bringing things in and reestablishing them in a traditional way, as you mentioned, but I think things like river otter and bobcat and pygmy rattlesnakes, things like that that are probably here in very low numbers could benefit from a little habitat preservation.
So what is the balance here? We've talked about the number of visitors that came to Mount Baldy and the like. You have what, like 3 million people come to this park on an annual basis. What is the balance between serving all of those people and preserving all of this habitat?
No, it's a tough job. I think the National Park Service is in the business of protecting America's great places, and part of the problem is when people discover them, they want to use them and enjoy them. So we have to balance the use and the protection aspect of the park. It's difficult, but I think what the challenge is here is that the dunes themselves are dynamic. They are changing as well. And so you have all this going on at the same time. And so far, so good. I mean, the plant diversity here is an indication that there's still quite a lot of high quality nature available.
Are you spending a lot of time looking at the potential impact of climate change here? That some of these species just may no longer easily survive in northwest Indiana.
Yes, climate change is a big topic in the national park system because a lot of the places that we manage are being impacted pretty dramatically by climate change. And a place like Indiana Dunes, which is where several different ecological zones meet, that climate change causes those changes to manifest even greater at those edges of habitat of ecosystems. And so we will probably see some plants enter into this naturally as species from the south move up. we'll probably see some of the northern species that are not as tolerant to warmer weathers move a little further north, which is part of that natural process with climate change, but it's accelerated now.
And so what do you do as a park? Because, you know, these are essentially islands amid things like steel mills and subdivisions. Where do those plants go if they're not in the park?
That's a good question. We do the best we can. I think a lot of what we can do here too, because we have a great partner with the Indiana Dunes State Park and some other public lands and private lands, is that there's a lot of this habitat is in the hands of other public landowners and private landowners. And we just provide information to them to do the best job that they can and manage the lakefront, not just as a national park and all these other, but as a system that consists of all these different landowners. And I think that will help.
You spend a lot of time internationally as part of the Park Service, working with parks in Eastern Europe and Poland, and even creating a sister park relationship with the dunes. What is the reputation of this park around the world, or does it have one?
Well, you know, we have a sister park with Kępinoski National Park in Poland. It's a dune park located near Warsaw. The sister park program matches parks that have similar resources. And so what we find is it's a small world. If you're managing a dune park that's adjacent to a big urban area, you experience a certain set of challenges and opportunities. And what can we learn talking to our international neighbors? So it's you know, misery loves company, maybe.
There you go.
But at the same time, the excitement of understanding that a place that, you know, not so long ago we were unable to go to, and now we have this scientific and education exchange, is pretty exciting.
All right, well, that's where we're going to have to leave it. Paul Labovitz, the new superintendent of the Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore. Welcome to Northwest Indiana.
It's great to be here. Thank you.